I'm Karlene Johnson, and I am the owner and operator of Something Country, which is located in Biles District, Kitson Town. Now, Something Country is the fruit of a thought that came about while in the classroom, wanting to see how best I could do something nutritious for our students and seeing if we could have them be nourished while learning, because we have found that though we have a lot of food, the nutrient density of the food is very low, and then that impacts how learning takes place. So Something Country came about as the fruit of many ideas, and that's just one of them. My mother was a baker. She's no longer with us, but she was a baker at the, what do you call it, the domestic level. But she would bake wedding cakes, and my brother and I we would decorate. So we were always dabbling with food. Now, I realized growing up, spending much time in my trees, whether tamarind tree, mango tree, or whatever tree with a book, because I'm a literature teacher trained. But so I would always be having my books, reading my books, but always at the back of my mind, what do we do with all these food that go to waste? So we have the mangoes in abundance under the trees wasting. So I would head to the kitchen and I would make nectars, and at this time I'm telling you, maybe from 9, 10, 11, I was always dabbling. So my interest was never yam and banana, to cook them and boil them with any saltfish. It was always to go in there and come out with something that could have longevity. So how could I preserve it? But the funny thing about that, and I would argue, is that after having made them, and if they taste good, they didn't last long. So I was like, what is the point of making all these preserves if you're going to eat them? They said, go make more. So that so even if it tastes good, you still want it to have the shelf life and to be left. So that was my idea. And over time, things happen and you deviate. The need for money, and people have even told me that you're a natural born teacher, go and teach. So I ended up in the classroom for over 16 years. And while there, you still would have at the back of your mind, what could I do with the things around me? I spent a lot of time researching jackfruit, trying to find out what I could do with the jackfruit, whether the jackfruit seed could be made into flour, looking at the nutritive density of jackfruit, and knowing that jackfruit could be used from the very young to the very mature. But jackfruit and I do not have a good relationship. That smell knocks me out. So the thing about it, we had to shift attention. Now, when I met Trees That Feed while I was at the University of the West Indies, I came in contact with Mary McLaughlin and Mike McLaughlin, and through Kathy Lane. And they asked, what about trying breadfruit? Initially, when I was at my previous employment, I wanted, before going back to university, to go and further my studies. I said to the agriculture teacher, when I return, let us build a factory on the school compound, and let us use the pigs that are there. Let's do hams and bacons and sausages and all of that. So I was researching that. Now, as literature as my base, research is going to be integral, and reading. So that's one thing I've found. You're not limited by what you study. You're not limited. So if you can research, if you can delve into something, then you can create what you will. So when they said to me, what about breadfruit? Have you considered breadfruit? I said, I'll consider anything. And the summer of, what was it, 2015, I headed back to the school compound, and we made over 250 pounds of breadfruit flour. Having not had any experience with breadfruit, we tried our utmost best, and we were pleased at the end of that process. Past students came in and they helped and everything. And the community was eager at the time to see how they could, because they had a lot of breadfruit just going to waste. Then we met upon another challenge. Now having all this flour, how do we get rid of the flour? Now, Jamaicans are a little averse to trying anything new. So they said, breadfruit flour? That can't taste good. So yes, that's one of the reactions. And then you had persons who had stigmas. Now you'd be surprised of the stigmas that Jamaican people have at the root for many products. And they say, but breadfruit make you coward. Me not eat breadfruit. And I was surprised to see how many persons had that. And if you checked it out, you would notice that a lot of these things came from colonial heritage, where they associated breadfruit with slavery, because it was one of the food that was brought in and to help to feed the masses. And so there are stigmas attached. Now, what I am pleased about with Trees That Feed as an organization that is helping to push planting of fruit trees all over the world to help to alleviate hunger is that they are helping to remove the stigmas that are attached to some of our fruit crops. And if it is that we own what we have in Jamaica, I am sure that there are other persons that will come in, and if you have innovative persons that will not look at it as just roast, boil and fry, then we can create something that is significantly Jamaica, that has brand Jamaica on it. Now, when you hear the term something country, because I thought long and hard about what would I name my company, and I said I wanted something inherently Jamaican, but I wanted something authentic, something that brought you back to your roots, something that brought you back to granny and grandpa. Now, when you think about the old time granny and you went and you visited the country area, they would come and we heard about pakasa, all sorts of weird name stuff. But when you got it, it was tasty. Not only tasty, it was food that had hardiness to it. And when I say that, it was so nutrient dense that you stayed fuller for longer and you still had a lot of energy. Now what happens is that when you eat the food that has been depleted of the nutrient value, then what you do, as soon as you eat, no matter the volume of the food you eat, you're going to be hungry quicker, because your body is going to trigger the signal that you have not gotten the sufficient nutrients that you need. So what happens now, you're not getting the nutrients that you need to satisfy your body's demand, so you're eating more, and then it converts it to fat. The body's still telling you you need more food because you're not getting the nutrients. Well, if you had a balanced meal that is nutrient rich, you would be fuller for longer because your body's needs have been satisfied. So that's one of the aim for us. Yes, things are expensive. Yes, we need to have tasty foods and all of that, but it still needs to have that value. It should not be trash, packaged beautifully and sold. The Pizzelle, it's not native to Jamaica. It's a foreigner that we have brought in and Jamaicanized. Well, we have countrynized it, something country. So what it is that this wafer cookie is one of the oldest known cookies in the world. It can be lace thin, so it can be thinner than this, lace thin, or it can go up to a certain thickness. But it's basically like a waffle cone type of cookie. And it can be paired with several things. So it can be paired with fruits, it can be paired with ice cream, it can be paired with a number of things. It is light, it's a snack, and it tastes good. And not only that, somebody brought an iron to me years ago, Mary McLaughlin from Trees That Feed, she brought the iron. And I was like, what is this? And I had to go researching again, and they gave me a basic recipe, which I didn't like any at all. So I discarded that and I came up with my own recipe.
So what is it made from?
This one is made from breadfruit and cassava, so there's no regular wheat flour in this. So it's breadfruit, cassava, and spices, and eggs.
You talked about Jamaican hesitance to try new things. When I mentioned that I'd be interviewing somebody who makes pastries from breadfruit flour and other staples, the first reaction, then how that tastes.
Right.
Could
They're
you describe
always
the
going
taste to us?
to tell us. They're always going to ask you, how is the taste? This is what I'll say to you. Every flour that has not gone through bleaching and where you have extracted the germ or extracted certain things out of it, you're going to have distinctive flavors. So the breadfruit flour does have a distinctive nutty flavor, and the cassava, it is a milder flavored flour. So if I go sweet potato or all of that, each of them will have a significantly distinctive taste. Now this one, it is a mild tasting breadfruit flavor, while the breadfruit oatmeal cookie has a stronger taste. While in the breadfruit bulla, which many persons are now asking about, the breadfruit bulla almost doesn't have any taste of breadfruit at all. So it is reminiscent of your traditional old school bulla now, not the newer bullas that are on the market. It's more reminiscent of the older school bullas that had ginger and certain heavier flavor profiles. So that's the difference. So each of these products has a distinctive taste, though at the base is cassava and breadfruit.
And are those your two main fruits, or do you dabble into?
Well, I'll say this: I have many recipes, some not yet perfected, some in different stages. Because you'll have things in the concept stage, you'll have things where you have tried it, but it is still not standardized. But these are the ones that I have had standardized, and I'll say right now my capacity is small, not as large as it will be in say 2 years or so. So there is growing demand for the products. That's another thing. And I do bammies as well, so there is growing demand. So with each of the products, I cannot cross when I'm doing production. I have to streamline, and if I'm doing pizzelles, I'm doing pizzelles. If I'm doing breadfruit oatmeal cookie, that's it. If I'm doing bulla, that's it. Right now the cookie line, because it is mainly breadfruit as the base, it takes a little while for people to get acclimatized with the taste. So it is slowly picking up. This one I have not really been pushing as much. Some persons said that they consider this to be a niche product on the higher end, but I've not yet sent it out in that capacity. For now, it's the bulla that is being pushed, and bammies, and the gizzadas, because the gizzadas go quite readily, seeing that Jamaican people already know bulla and they already know gizzadas. You do not now have to tell them what it is, like how I would have to explain what this is.
You've also delved into vegan cookies. Now, Jamaicans have always been known to love their natural things, but vegan has never been something that we've really cared too much for. Why did you decide to make our cookie vegan?
There is a growing population of vegans. I have found that a lot of persons, while they have gluten intolerance, they have taken it a step further to just cut out all animal products, whether eggs or milk. And I had a request. This came as a request from a friend. He said, please do a vegan cookie. I like the cookies, but I do not want the eggs. And I made several recipes. They too requested the vegan. Plus one of my workers, she's vegan as well. So there has been a demand request for this. Though I made this, I did not push it out either. So similar to the vegan treat, I've held these back. And again, because of the demand for other products, and not only that, raw material and sourcing my raw material, I have to ensure that if I have a request for the product, I can supply. And it doesn't make sense we do advertisement for things, and then when you get this large request, then when you look at it, you can't supply it. So what you have done, you have basically destroyed your market before you have even gone out there fully. So that's one of the things about these. So I'll give these to persons who know about it, who want it on a small scale, but to say a large scale, because I've had persons calling to say, would you ship a container? I can't ship a container at this time. I'd love to ship a container, and if anybody's there who would want to help me to ship a container by helping me to secure raw material. I know the University of West Indies, they have a processing plant for making flour, and it's due to COVID they had to close down. I'd love the University of the West Indies would open up back so I could get breadfruit flour and cassava flour from them. I love the quality of their cassava flour, and I love the whole economy of keeping the flow going. And Dr. Thompson, University of the West Indies, get on board and open up back. I beg you. Right now, I will get foods from the Brownsall community. But I really, really want to move away from processing my own flour, because the focus should be on the manufacturing, and manufacturing takes a lot of time, especially with the variety of products that I offer. So if there are persons out there who can go into production and keep the manufacturing costs down where the pricing would be economical, then that would be good.
How long have you been out on the market?
I registered before putting down one thing, so I wouldn't call it, that wouldn't be fully out. It's 1 year. 1 year since I left the classroom, and 1 year since I'm full-time. And as anyone will tell you, it takes up to 5 years to really balance out in any business. And I must say I'm thankful, because yes, it has been challenging. Yes, I've had days where I said, what did I do, God? Should I head back to the classroom? But through the help of several persons, my brother, my father, they are instrumental. They have been the ones who helped to design machines for me. They have been the ones who helped to maintain machines, to weld the structure. I've had cousins who come in and they weld for me. And so if I did not have that network, I am positive it would not be anywhere. Now, I'll talk about the breadfruit Bulla, because that has a story. Persons requested the breadfruit Bulla. I did not know anything about Bulla. I did not know how to make a Bulla. But my neighbor from across the road, she said, Karlene, yeah, the biscuit nice, but a Bulla me want. Bulla. I don't like to do Bulla. Here, look. You don't understand? Mr. Bulla, you must do. So, that was in the back of my mind. But, you know, that I wasn't really paying it much attention. It's just there as a thought. Like, oh, yes, Bulla. Then, Mary called and she said, Karlene, would you make some Bullas for us? And man, I went to the kitchen, and I'm also thankful for persons who have had experience in the field. So George Anderson, I met him when I was trying to source machines, and he sold me some of his when he was closing down his business to migrate. And he was the one who walked me through the technicalities, because I'll say this, having a list of ingredients and maybe steps does not make you a baker. There are nuances to every product that you will do, and you will have to work out the nuances, especially when you're doing large scale production. And I am grateful that it came out to something tasting good. Now, the Lasco Chain Foundation, they had a women's empowerment program, and they wanted to use the breadfruit Bulla as one of the driving products to get women entrepreneurs started. And Trees That Feed donated 200 Bullas to each woman for the first month, and we started with 5 women. So this is like the 3rd week since they are doing the business and they are on the streets. A lot of these women are from the inner city communities, Arlington Town, Trenchtown, and different areas down there. So we deliver the Bullas to them, and then they'll spend the money and grow their business. So the Lasco Chain Foundation, they did a series of training with these women to teach them entrepreneurship skills, and then they'll be tracking them for 6 months to see how well they are implementing, and they'll bring them in every now and again and give them refresher courses and top-up courses. So that's one of the programs that's ongoing. The other program where the breadfruit Bulla is directed, and this is where most of the Bullas are going now, is to the schools. So the Trees That Feed, again, with the Crystal House in Twickenham Park, that is one of the schools that currently gets 300 Bullas every 2 weeks, with the hope that they'll get the Bullas on a weekly basis. And we just brought in some schools in the Jeffreytown community, 5 basic schools, so they just came on. So there is the prospect of getting more schools on and growing that part. But also we have sent out the bullas into the corner shops as well, because most of our products goes to the corner shops. So we supply the corner shops in the Kitson Town area, straight back to Spanish Town and Portmore and Kingston. So we do a number of corner shops along that way. And we're mostly known in the corner shops for the gizzadas. But the bullas now have joined as another of the flagship products.
Do you have any hopes of moving into supermarkets and larger chains?
Well, the breadfruit oatmeal cookie is in the Shoppers Fair supermarket. It is registered to all the supermarkets on their list. However, we are just catering to 3 at this time due to logistics, because we do our own delivery as well, and not only logistics of delivery but also logistics of supply.
Do you have any regrets about starting your business?
My students would say, "Miss, how long you say I left?" every day. The regret is starting this business. I did not really get any outside investments. I took my personal savings and I took a personal loan. It's tough, but as I said to many people, you're in a tunnel and the light is just ahead. Do I stop in the tunnel or do I persevere and go towards the light? So I see doors opening. I've had calls from people who say, do you ship? Do you export? Do you this? Do you that? But the volume that they want, I'm not at that level yet. But if I stop now, then I will never ever get to that level. So again, that's where the encouragement of the network comes in. And people say, "Karlene, continue pushing." That's the life of an entrepreneur. That's part of the motivation. That's part of the vision. So regrets, you'll have moments, especially if you have had loss. So I sent away some bammies to Canada and I got a call that they were spoiled. And I was like, I want to cry because that's 480 bammies. The man who bought them said, "Karlene, we understand. It happens. Just regroup, find out what went wrong, and come again. But you'll have to replace half." And I was like, thank you. Eternally grateful. Worked assiduously, did not make any money, but we had to supply. Sent it back out, got good reviews again, and started again. So challenges like those. Somebody said to me, it's good that you are having the failures at the beginning. So when you get bigger, you will know how to handle certain things and you can mitigate some of those failures because you have learned. From when it was small, it cost? No, but imagine if it was a container load of bammies that went bad. So give God thanks for the 480. Right? So that's one of the things. And my faith keeps me going. I'm a girl that is grounded in my faith. So you get to the word and there are principles in the Bible that teaches you how to succeed. So one of the driving principles is you can't do everything alone. Do not forget the people who help you. Do not look down on anyone and value each and every person. The one that sweeps to the one that is pulling all the strings and has all the money to invest. So I'll say I'll treat the prince the same as I treat the pauper. There is no difference.